Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we'll be having a little news about some Batman casting and also a current box office update. As of yesterday, we've got some box office numbers for yesterday, and it's a very interesting story to see how much money movies like Frozen 2 are making and how very little movies like Charlie's Angels are making. So, the first thing to talk about, though, of course, is a new casting announcement, which is that John Turturro is being cast as the mobster Carmine Falcone, which to me is a good casting choice. I overall like John Turturro. For anyone that doesn't know movies that he has been in before, he unfortunately was attached to some Transformers movies. Those were definitely some of the worst performances that he's ever given, but he's also been attached to films like Secret Window with Johnny Depp, where he played the guy who had stolen, or the guy who claimed to have had his story stolen by Johnny Depp's character. So he played that character, which I thought was played very well at that point in time. He's also done some comedic roles as well. He was in Mr. Deeds, where he played the servant in Mr. Deeds 2, Adam Sandler's Mr. Deeds as well. So this is a guy that's been around for a very long time. He's done a lot of movies, a lot of projects, also has done a lot of different genres of film too, which makes him a very dynamic actor. And overall, I think that I could see him well suited for this role. I think that he could probably pull this role pretty well off. And you know what, to be honest, I think this is making me, once again, just like with previous castings like Paul freaking Dano as being the Riddler and others, making me more excited for this film. Now, obviously, there is definitely going to be some concerns because the film is still about a year or so away. It's not going to get a release until 2021 is the current projections. Obviously, movies can find delays and can get pushed back, and obviously there could be other major issues with the overall plot. But what I'm hoping and praying for is the fact that they will look at the success that Joker had, and they'll say, okay, let us keep it basic. Let us say, okay, let's see, what did Joker focus on? Oh, wait, that's right. Good performances, good actors, good writing, good storytelling. Let us stay focused on that. And so if Matt Reeves is going to be able to deliver that, I think we'll have yet another great DC film, serious, hopefully serious, dark and gritty DC film like we had with Joker. Really hoping they keep it more of a grounded story because it worked very well for Joker, and I think that it would work very well for the character of Batman, especially if they go in the direction of him being more of a detective. If it's more of him doing research and following up leads and doing the detector type stuff that we see a lot in the comics and in the original animated series, which is very much based and really founded in the comics, I think that it'll end up being very well. We also have some more rumors, which is that apparently they might be shooting multiple Batman movies back to back. Now, this is the reason why I love bounding the comics, because they always make it clear saying this is definitely in rumor territory. So a new rumor has detailed that Warner Brothers and Matt Reeves are shooting multiple Batman films back to back. This would make sense to me because we live in a world now where to say, oh, let's go ahead and shoot one Batman movie with a new Batman and just keep it at that, it just doesn't seem realistic anymore. And I honestly have issues with that and also like it at the same time because, yeah, I think that you could have Batman as a character being given several different stories and being able to take his character in different directions, but I do feel like we're getting into that point where we're getting so tired of sequels, so tired of prequels, and it'd be really nice to have films like Joker where it can stand alone by itself. I know there's a lot of rumor talk about there being a possible sequel, but we have not gotten any real confirmation on that yet. What probably is happening is they're putting the news out there, seeing what audiences would think about it, and probably also they're trying to convince people like Joaquin Phoenix and like Todd Phillips to get back on for the project, because if both of them are not back onto the project, then they really have no reason to go forward, because they are two of the biggest reasons why that film was so successful and as good as it actually was. Batman is still a film that has not come out yet and seems to be a character, especially with all of the different source material that you have for the character, to be able to make multiple films and multiple perspectives with multiple villains from. When it's a story just about a villain himself, yeah, you could go in similar directions, but he really only has one arch enemy, which is Batman, right? Batman has many different enemies to fight, many different characters that you can put him up against. Joker just has Batman, which is why, personally, I would love for Batman to be a standalone film, but to tie in at the very end to the Joker so that we have this duology type mindset, because I think, personally, that would be really cool. I would love to see a duology. You don't really get a whole lot of official duologies out there in the film industry, and I think that having two films made by two different people that exist in the same universe but are taken in different directions could end up being very good. But this apparently is coming from Grace Randolph, so take it with a grain of salt. She does have some insiders in the industry. She does have some sources in the industry, but you all know Grace Randolph is kind of hot and cold. Sometimes she makes sense. Sometimes she goes out the deep end, so definitely take it with a grain of salt. So Randolph states, I'm hearing that they are shooting multiple Batman movies back to back, which makes it even more like the Jeff Loeb comics with Matt Reeves has said he's taking inspiration from. As far as I know, Reeves has not specifically stated, so this is John F. Trent. As Reeves has not specifically stated, The Long Halloween is the inspiration for his Batman film, but it is the current rumor. Reeves did reveal that The Long Halloween is one of his favorite Batman comics alongside Year One, Dark Victory, and Ego, which I think that indication tells us a little bit more about what his Batman will be like, that it will be more dark, more gritty, more on the streets, not just going to be focused on all the different weapons and all the different cool gadgets and Bruce Wayne as the rich person, but it's going to be focusing more on, as I said before, the detective aspect to it. So this is a tweet from Matt Reeves where he says, there are many. I love Year One, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Ego, many others. Neil Adams is awesome. Love the original Kane and Finger. I could go on, which again, he is a comic fan, and I think that's good to know. It's good to have a director that's going to say, yeah, you know what, I like the source material, so let me do something with it. Very different than what many other people in Hollywood right now, Kathleen Kennedy, who claims that there is no source material, but also attacks sometimes the source material, at least people around her don't really go into how great the source material for their product actually is. It's good to have someone like Matt Reeves saying, no, the source material that we have is great and plentiful, as it actually is. So what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that Matt Reeves is going to produce a good film? Based on casting alone, I definitely am at that point where I feel a lot more confident about it, obviously, and I've read a lot of your comments on the last time I talked about the Batman, that obviously we have to wait for things like a trailer, a poster, and the film itself, because a lot of things can change, but it's nice to have some hope. It's nice to have something to look forward to in this day and age, and I think films like Joker have kind of reinvigorated, instead, the love that I have for movies. I don't think it was until Joker that I was like, you know what, let me try and actually go out and watch more movies. And then since then, I've seen a slew of really great films, whether it was Dr. Sleep or Ford v. Ferrari or A Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood. I mean, all of these are just a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. All of these are great films. And I think that it was a film like Joker that was able to rekindle that fire within me, that passion that I have for talking about movies and just the passion and love that I have for films as well. So I have to thank Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix for being able to deliver that type of film. And I have high hopes that Matt Reeves will do the same, but of course, that remains to be seen. A little bit of a box office update, though, before we end the day. So Frozen 2, to no one's surprise, is dominating the weekend with $41.8 million on Friday. That would include the Thursday nights as well, as the Thursday nights are usually tallied in with addition to the Friday night totals as well. So that's a very good total for it. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood coming out with $4.5 million, and we finally have a theater count there, 3,235 theaters. That's definitely not as high as I wish it to be, but that means that it's likely on pace to end roughly between 10 and 15 million for the weekend, at least in the domestic marketplace, which I think is a decent start for it. I don't think the budget for it was very large, so we'll end up seeing how just how much money it can make. It's a film I think everyone should go see. It's a solid PG film, great family film. As I've mentioned previously, great film to take your kids to and then have a conversation with them after about, hey, what did you think about some of the things that he was saying? Ford v. Ferrari coming in with a 60% drop, which I think is not really that surprising when you have two films like the two that were previously mentioned coming out. Not a lot of people are going to be seeing them. Instead, most people that have wanted to see Ford v. Ferrari probably have already seen it, which is why I think it had such a bigger opening than people were expecting. It's still doing very well, and it still will continue to make money, but definitely on the side of it not doing nearly as well as I think some people thought the second weekend might actually be. You also have 21 Bridges with $3.3 million, which is a little bit on the low end, but it also came out in less theaters, so not too surprising. $1.3 million for Midway. Playing with Fire, the movie with John Cena, made a little over $1 million. The Good Liar made a little over $1 million, which has me kind of happy because it's an indie film, or more of an indie film with a lower budget. With Ian McKellen, it's a film I really want to see. I'm going to try and maybe see it this weekend, though I don't think I'm going to have time because of just so many other things going on. And you would think, oh, but you have Thanksgiving break coming up, but I had to spend time with my family, which I love and I can't wait to do because I haven't seen them for a long time. I have not been down to New Orleans since we moved up at the beginning of the semester, so it'll be really nice to see family and to spend time with them. But at the same time, too, I hope that I'm able to slip in a movie here and there as well, because obviously it's something that I want to be able to do. And then you have Charlie's Angels, which once again could not crack $1 million in a day. So other than its opening weekend, other than the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of its opening, it has not been able to make $1 million in a day in the domestic market. That's awful. and I mentioned this previously, and I'm sure I'm beating a dead, it's like beating a dead horse here, but seriously, I cannot stress enough just how bad this movie is doing. I mean, when you look and see what films it's compared to and what films that have been out longer are doing in comparison to it, films like Playing with Fire that no one in their right mind is going to say is a, Oscar-worthy great film or even that entertaining of a film, is still doing so much better and at less theaters than it. I mean, it's just truly amazing to me that this is going on, and they have been so... I think that they have been so hard-headed that the theater change from what I'm seeing is not nearly as high as it probably should be at this point, meaning the studio is saying, oh no, we're going to force this down your throats. It's going to be available at all these show times, but no one is going to end up going to see it. So that is a very, very sad story. Go ahead and just look to how much money it's making per theater. Compare that to all the other all the other movies that are going on right now, and that gives you an indication, because there are theaters that have less. There are films that have less theater space that are doing better per theater, and that just goes to show you that, yeah, it might be making this amount of money, but individual theaters are not doing very well. Frozen 2 has so far made $100 million, which, again, is not a big surprise. It's going to definitely make its budget back. It's definitely going to be a box office hit. There are some people speculating, though, that it might not be as big as the first Frozen film, which I think is deserving because from what I hear, it's a lazy attempt at a sequel, and I'm kind of hoping that we can finally put a little, fork into the sequel nonsense that we've been having a lot recently, but hey, not going to deny that it's going to be doing well. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, we only have the domestic office for that, $4.5 million. Hopefully it does well. Obviously, that's going to be more of an American story, so it's going to do better in the domestic market with United States and Canada. Ford v Ferrari is up to $68.8 million, and as I said before, not really quite good enough for that film. It's going to be interesting to see what the numbers are like tomorrow once we have the foreign totals in, because if we can get closer to $150 million, then we'll be in the film will be in much better shape. It's a big question mark, though. It's doing strong here in the United States, but not so much overseas. And then Charlie's Angels, it's just, oh my goodness, $33.7 million now at this point in time. If this film can't even crack $50 million this weekend internationally, which I don't think it will, as I said, you're looking at about a $20 to $30 million bust for a film that only cost about $48 million to make. That is atrociously bad, and the marketing campaign should absolutely be blamed for it because they push the woke agenda. The film itself should be blamed for it because from people that have seen the film who have done reviews on it, there are a lot of woke points in there. I know some people said if you turn your brain off, you can enjoy it, but the things that they talk about, the big issues with the film, especially with something I can't mention apparently because YouTube demonetized my last video when I talked about it, and I think it's because I said a certain A word, and for anyone that watches my channel, you know that I'm a pro-life individual. It's because I said a certain A word that apparently they demonetized my video, which I think is ridiculous because it just goes to show you how politically motivated they are, that they can't even allow freedom of speech on their own platform to talk about these things. Now, some people will say, oh, well, at least your video was still up. It's not like they took your video down. Yeah, but it also affects the algorithm and it affects how many people actually watch the video, and it affects so many other things with the channel. So it is almost like a form of censorship. It's just almost like a shadow banning in a lot of ways. But that's the least of our concerns with everything going on with COPA at this point in time. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers has a wonderful video talking about the COPPA coverage and all the nonsense going on. I'm not really too worried for it just because I know I don't really I don't really cross the line all that much on this channel. My channel is already mostly a PG channel, and I've already clicked it so that every video is said, this is not geared towards kids, because Lord knows if I say ass or anything like that, even if it's from scripture, it's just not going to be good enough for them. And so I'm not even going to try and touch that with a 5-foot pole because, dear Lord, the whole thing is nonsensical. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about the box office. Do you think that Frozen 2 is going to be a giant juggernaut, or do you think it's going to come in much less than the original film did? Also, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, how well do you think it's going to be good for Ferrari? And how little do you think Charlie's Angels is going to make? But the biggest news of the day, of course, is the recent casting of John Turturro as the mobster Carmine Falcone. Do you think it is a good casting? Do you think they're filming this multiple films at the same time? Do you believe Grace Randolph? Do you think this would make sense for the DC universe? The only thing that would keep me from believing that is I think DC is trying to slow down a little bit with its live action. Obviously, Joker was a giant, shock to the heart, but they have had a lot of struggles with their films being very financially successful, because some people might say, oh, but this film made this much and this film made this much, but then they ignore how much it costs to film and promote those movies, and then the budgets, and then the overall take is not nearly as impressive as you might consider. In fact, Justice League, one could argue, was them barely breaking even based on how much they spent on marketing, and how much they actually got back from the box office. So they definitely are on the trying to slow down a little bit. So I'm kind of skeptical that they would already be filming a sequel to the Batman. I think that it's more likely they're filming just a lot of things because they don't know what direction they want to take the movie. And I'm more focused right now on the casting, and hopefully we get a trailer within the next 6 months to be able to give us an indication of what the film itself is going to be about. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this stuff and all the things we talked about in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, give me a subscribe, it helps me out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.